If hunger is not the problem, food is not going to solve the problem. Food is not the solution. How am I going to feel after I finish this meal? That is a big question that sometimes we don't even ask ourselves. We don't even know. Am I bored? Am I angry? Do I feel lonely? Do I feel like I've just been pushing myself so hard that I just need a reward? If the answer is, I don't think so, hungry, you are not. And sometimes these bad decisions are coming from reacting to an impulse, to a fear, reaction from trying to get us protected from something that we are not too sure about. The pause and really assessing your moment in that situation, how you feel, why are you feeling that way, makes a big difference. Week 7, we are talking about reaction and how we pause before that reaction. I know that some of you may be busy at work or doing stuff, but if you need, just listen. If you have anything that you have any questions, just make sure you still interact in the comments and you are attentive to this call. Otherwise, there's no point of attending to something that you're not going to pay attention to. I really want to take the moment to perhaps hear some wins. Any of you guys that have some wins to share today, I would love to hear from you. Anyone that is willing to get on the hot seat and say something about a positive win or a struggle. You know, I'm here for you all, and whether it's a win or a struggle, you always will find both, though. There's a win and a struggle. So I would love to hear maybe Heather.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Then I'll go off camera and eat my dinner. I would say my win with, especially with the pausing, is I'm really thinking about what my feelings are before I eat. And I'm actually finding, and this is like not so good, is that I'm questioning whether or not I'm really hungry a lot. Like, am I really? And it's almost like I don't know if I'm hungry or not. And for those of you who maybe like don't know, I shared this in the chat like once. I recently came off of semaglutide, and I've been working with Astrid at the end of it and um, coming off of it. So I kind of was really used to not eating a lot, and it was great. And now I feel like I've kind of lost my hunger cues and things like that. And it's kind of making me wonder, like, do I even know what hunger is? But I am getting lots of protein and fiber, even if it means I'm overeating these this week especially. I am hitting those targets, but it's also coming with some challenges as well.
And I think we did have a bit of a chat, you and I, about how it is very difficult when you have been pretty much been suppressing your appetite with a drug, and just coming off of it is going to be really challenging to bring the natural hunger back, because you have been just pretty much suppressing that hunger, that natural hunger cues, with something that was just not naturally produced in your body. And so when you're taking the drug off and you're slowly reintroducing to your training your natural cues, it's going to take a little while and it's going to be a bit of a trial and error. But the more consistent you are giving it a go and trying to keep the structure, that is what is going to drive that cues to be more real and feel more real. And obviously, there is always going to be the emotional roller coaster that happens to all of us, anyways, whether you are on a semaglutide, GLP-1, or not. You will still have feelings, and you will still have, if you have been always an emotional or stress eater, that is always going to be there. So what I want you to be aware is that just by bringing and developing the awareness and the pausing is what is going to make that initiative of being more aware and stronger at defining whether you are going to act upon an impulse that may be true hunger or may not be true hunger. So when we do ask our questions, whether am I truly hungry right now, is when we get to a point where we realize, I am not sure. In your case, you will say, I am not sure if I am really hungry or not, because I forgot what true hunger really feels like. I don't know if my stomach growling is true hunger, because sometimes it may not be true hunger when you have been erratically eating for a long time and your body maybe wanted to say something, but you also have trained your body at certain points to eat and to not eat. And so all of this craziness, what it sounds like is we need to retrain our hunger cues to get used to eat at certain times. And then when you put an experiment, and I was bringing that to you not because I am pro fasting, but when you go one day without eating anything at all, maybe just drinking water or liquids, you will be hungry. And you realize and you learn what true hunger is. And I say this not for you to go and do fasting, but I am saying this in the best way possible to make you realize that sometimes only what we need to get back to is to our basic understanding of what the physiology does when the true scenario of being hungry is around. And sometimes we just need to do an experiment and get exposed to what hunger truly would mean or feel if you don't really eat. So you just connect to the idea of, oh, this is what hunger feels like when I don't eat anything at all. So that is a true physiologic response from your body that you will be able to recognize and identify of, oh, this is what true hunger feels like. And when you are just eating normally back to your structure, and then you feel the impulse to eat, then you can have a point of reference. Oh, this was what I felt when I was really, really hungry. And we also need to think about the scale of hunger from 1 to 10. So from 0 to 5, we're kind of like going through this being super starving, extremely hungry, to being neutral, to be okay. And then from 5 to 10, you're fully stuffed and completely full. And kind of like when we look at satiation, we're sort of like looking at satiated. Yeah, so we're looking about 4, mostly 5 to 7. And that range will probably tell you, I am good where I am right now. And sometimes we could, if we decided that we are feeling good with our food, to just stop and eat at that point in time or not eat anymore. But it is always a call that you will feel from trying to be very intentional with that connection and that hunger cues. So when we are looking at paying attention to our nutrition, our hunger cues, and satiation and satisfaction, we never forget all of those. We have to be looking at how hungry I am right now. And if you have started eating, also listening to, am I truly enjoying this meal? Is it worthwhile to keep going? And is it something nourishing that is not just going to fill me up, but it's going to make me feel good? And the other question that you ask yourself, especially if you have been eating for a few minutes and several minutes already, you started your meal, is if I continue eating more, how am I going to feel after I finish this meal? That is a big question that sometimes we don't even ask ourselves. We don't even know how to answer it until we start developing this self-awareness. How am I going to feel? Or if you haven't even started eating this food and you're just not hungry at all, but the food is calling you in a way, although food doesn't speak and it will never speak. If it speaks to you, it probably is still alive. But You don't want the food to speak to you. Believe me, you don't want the cow that you're going to eat to speak to you. I don't want that at all. So what I'm saying is, you, is your mind that is really trying to get you a perspective of, I fucking want this food anyways. But is it truly what you need right now? And that comes back to the 7 types of hunger we have discussed earlier, that not always hungry is going to show up as physical hunger, but your brain interprets that is hunger anyways, until you stop and pause and realize that this is actually not physical hunger. So if hunger is not the problem, food is not going to solve the problem. Food is not the solution. So when food is not the solution, then it's back to you deciding and choosing whether, is this food worthwhile eating right now? Is it aligned with my goals? Is it going to make me feel good? And how am I going to feel after eating this food? So it's not just feeling at the moment, but it's, what am I going to feel after? Am I going to feel proud of myself because I ate something that nourished my body and made me feel good? Maybe it was disaligned with my goals. Or am I getting closer to my goals, or am I not? But you also can take ownership and say, this is likely not necessarily aligned with my goals. This is likely going to get me out of my calorie budget, but I want to enjoy it. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong, and there is no strict rules when it comes to make something that you want to achieve sustainable. And that's where it comes really handy to play with calorie cycling. And when you allow yourself to have a little bit more calories on one day, then you adjust the next day or during the week. So at the end of the day, we're looking at weekly average calories rather than just thinking one day I went off the charts, I ate a lot more than I should have, and then I blew up my day, and then I fucking failed. No, you haven't failed. The only thing that is going to make you fail if is if you adopt this mentality and then you start saying, fuck it. That is going to be the big difference. So what I prefer you to do is continue to keep that momentum of prioritizing that structure, that regular eating that we've been building upon, and then moving into the pausing and the analyzing of whether, am I truly hungry? How do I feel right now? And what could potentially be causing this sensation? Because let's say at the moment, right now, you don't have that pattern of reference of true hunger. So you don't know what hunger right now feels like. But you can be a bit more intentional thinking, if I am not sure if I am truly, truly hungry, if I had in front of me, I don't know, something you don't like eating that much. Let's think about, I don't know, a plain carrot or fucking something disgusting. I don't know. Something you don't like. Would you eat it at that point? If the answer is, I don't know, I don't think so, hungry, you are not. You maybe not. Because when you're really hungry, you fucking eat whatever is in front of you. I tell you, I've been there with my prep, and like several times that I put myself in that experiment to know and really hone in on to what hunger really feels like. And so I did a fasting experiment one day, and I fucking was starving, but really hungry. And so I know when I am hungry what true hunger feels like. And when I am not hungry, but I want to eat, I identify that this is more a habitual thing that I am just do by default when I am surrounded by certain situations that repeat over and over. For example, when I get back to the gym, it's kind of like directly I go to the kitchen. And I might not be hungry fully, but it is already a habit. And so sometimes I just say, well, I'm not truly hungry. I'm not super starving, but I prefer just eating a little bit earlier. And so I can try to not get to bed super stuffed. And so it could be more something that you decide to do because becomes a practical strategy if it's going to serve you for a reason. But when it doesn't serve you, it's more like, is this habit or habitual hunger practice actually making a positive impact in my routine or in my hunger cues? So all these types of hungers overlap, and you can make them useful, or they can be actually not useful, depending on how you see them and how you use them and how you develop that integration with your own mindset and hunger cues, and how you go about developing this intentionality and self-awareness. So my plan, or my recommendation to you is truly think about these three things. First of all, continue to have that structure as much as you can. Continue to prioritize high volume foods and nourishing foods, your protein. Besides that, making sure that those foods are satiating and provide some level of satisfaction, that you enjoy them. But after that, getting to the next point is, when it's time to eat, then you ask yourself, do I feel like I have this sensation of true hunger? Am I hungry right now? Especially if it comes sort of off the times that you're not supposed to eat, which is where we struggle the most. Like, we get snacky, or in the afternoon or at night, it can happen. Am I bored? Am I angry? Do I feel lonely? Do I feel like I've just been pushing myself so hard that I just need a reward? Or is it something that is more, I've been so busy all day, I've been serving everyone, putting myself at last, and then it is my me time. And then my me time becomes, how do I reward myself with to make me feel happy? And then sometimes our only go-to is food. Or you've been so good all day eating healthy because at some point you feel like you needed to restrict. You avoided your meals in the morning, you skipped breakfast, or whatever is it, that you feel like you deserve something to reward that restriction. I doubt that you at this stage working with me are doing that, but some of you that could be coming now to the program may actually feel like you've been following that pattern, and it's time to break that. So we establish a routine, we establish a structure that you can actually follow. It doesn't mean like you always have to be that kind of person that eats 3 meals, 6 meals a day, 3 meals and 2 snacks. Like, you don't need to follow that specific structure. You got to follow a structure that serves you, but also aligns with your routine, but also you're able to keep consistent. As an example, for me, is 2 meals a day the majority of the times, and one sort of a smaller meal in the middle of the day. But when I am out and I'm not at home, I don't like eating out. It's like, there's something like, I need to be in a place where I can actually prepare my meals, slow down, taste my food. I don't like eating in a rush, or just taking a container and eating just in a rush in my office. I don't like doing that when I am at the hospital. So in order for me to have a consistent meal structure, I taught my body that I would eat breakfast, a big breakfast, practical eating. I'm probably not as hungry, but I eat anyways. So I am not hungry throughout the day. I drink water. I maintain my brain busy, because that's what I can do in that period of time. I get home and I have a big dinner. During the day, I will have a snack before my training. So also paying attention to fuel timing when that is a priority for us as well. Because believe it or not, depending, your training may not be super intense, and you may not be a super athlete that is doing 4 hours of training and you need to refuel and think about glycogen. Sometimes we don't need any of that. And our breakfast, lunch, or dinner might be suffice for covering those pre and post workout meals. And we may not need a pre-workout per se, or a specific meal. But what the point comes is that sometimes the one issue that can be very interruptive when we're trying to exercise and get our best performance on that session is that if we are hungry, like if you feel hungry throughout your session, even if you don't really need extra fuel, but you're hungry, that is going to fuck with your performance. And I can tell you that because the times that nowadays, for example, I am currently on maintenance. I'm eating well. I'm eating relatively decent amount of calories throughout the day. I'm not in a deficit. I actually think I'm gaining a little bit of weight, but I'm just trying to do it steadily. And sometimes I go to the gym and I had a decent time. Like I had breakfast, let's say at 9 a.m. and I go to the gym at 2 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything in that gap. And I can tell you that if I don't have a snack before, I am going to the gym hungry and I feel this sensation that I am actually physically hungry. And that interrupts the flow and how it affects negatively how I perform. Whereas if I have something, whatever, that just fills me up a little bit, and that is something that reduces that physical hunger, just the fact that you were able to do that, your training goes a lot better. And sometimes it's just eating a little bit of pieces of, I don't know, a cheese stick or something that just kills that hunger and just gets your stomach saying, oh, there's food here. Okay, good, we're good. And then the hunger disappears, or at least drops a little bit, your training goes better. So I don't know if all of that makes sense. I ramble a lot, but I think it comes back to the specifics of attacking hunger in many different situations. But the way that we will do that is consistent meals, asking yourself whether you're hungry or not. And again, bringing the question, how am I going to feel after? If I eat this right now, and would I eat a carrot or a food that I don't like right now? Is that something that you would be willing to do? Like, if I give you, tell me one food that you don't like, something that you just definitely wouldn't eat.
Raw cauliflower.
Okay. Would you eat a cauliflower right now if you're hungry? Like, if you ask yourself, if you want to really know if you're truly hungry, and I put a cauliflower in front of you and it's raw, it's not cooked, it doesn't have salt, it doesn't have anything, it's just there, would you eat it? And if your answer is fuck no, there you go. Because I promise you, if you take that cauliflower to I don't know if you watched the movie of that survivor, that the guy that was stranded in an island and spent like 45 days, 2 months, 3 months. You give him that cauliflower, and I promise you he would eat it. So that's my point. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
It's a good perspective because I keep thinking I know, like, I'm like, oh no, this is definitely physical hunger, but I definitely wouldn't eat raw cauliflower. So maybe it's not as much hunger as I'm thinking it is.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be
So,
that extreme though,
but
because
yeah.
but it's kind of like giving you a perspective of how
Hmm.
true hunger could feel like, especially if we are lacking of that reference of what hunger feels like. But I would really think that at some point, especially you mentioned that you will have a medical procedure coming soon and you will have to fast, take that opportunity to explore. Go with curiosity on that fasting as to what does that feels like, and pay attention to those hunger cues. And for any of you that are going through the same, that you don't really know what hunger feels like, you could just do, again, I don't advocate for fasting, but if this is something that you will take as an experiment one day to just get curious about what true hunger feels like and use that as a reference to know now, okay, I know what hunger feels like. And I also know the other extreme. Like if you've been a binger for some time, like if you've binged food and you have had episode of binging, you know what feeling super full and super stuffed feels like. So you know now all the extremes. You know what hunger and extreme hunger feels like, and you know what feel extremely full feels like. And so how do you meet in the middle to now know, okay, I don't need to feel super stuffed and I don't need to feel ravenously hungry. How do I feel satiated and in a neutral place where you feel in peace with your hunger, but also with your need for having some satisfaction? So it's again bringing that back to the middle. That range between 5 and 7 is where you want to land in that scale. Make sense? Okay, another person. I want to hear someone else that gives me a win and a struggle.
I can go.
Let's go.
Okay. So I guess my wins are always in the gym. I've
Okay.
been working out really well and I've been incorporating more runs again. So that feels really good. I was having some hip pain and that has gone away with like stretching and physical therapy. So it feels really good to be able to go back to running. So that's going well. When it comes to food, I think with the pause, I'm noticing less of the swinging, which is really important to me because even though I don't binge, what I do is I restrict a lot. I will
Mm-hmm.
go into this pattern of restricting, restricting, restricting. And it's like I am telling myself until I don't feel really hungry, then I'm not in a deficit and that day doesn't really count, right? But then what ends up happening is that my other parts that are like protecting me from like dying and just by protective parts, they kick in and then I eat to maintenance and then I just keep swinging back and forth between that. So now I'm noticing with the pause and what we talked about last week. Sorry, my dog is. I notice less of the swinging and more of less restricting and just feeding myself and then trying to stick. For me it's really important to not skip any meals and stick to my 4 meals, which is my three main meals and then a snack in the afternoon. And when I do that, I notice that it's a lot more stable. But that means no, I haven't seen the change in the scale. And then I'm also going through perimenopause. So it's like day 40 of my period, no period. And it feels really weird to not get my period, but get all the symptoms. So it's just really hard to be in that space of like, it's almost like you're being constipated or something like that. It's not a good feeling for me. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah. Um, it definitely feels like you are going through. Well, we have been working on that quite a lot around just being super intentional and try to get away from that restrictive mindset just because you are focusing on the change on the scale or you feel like you need to restrict because you're not necessarily in your normal routine. I think that happens a lot more when you're traveling or when you're are away. So you want to sort of like pre-restrict before, just in case anything happens, you have the room to accommodate for extra calories or for extra things. And I know it can be a bit of a double-edged sword because it can serve you sometimes. Because if you're traveling or you're in back-to-back meetings and things like that, and suddenly you have to go to a restaurant or something, and there is extra food, then it's sort of like, oh well, I do have some extra calories because I haven't eaten the entire day, so that's good. But then you're so hungry that there is a point that your protective brain is not going to care whether that is a healthy food, how many ingredients, whether it is a healthy choice, whether it's aligned with your goals, how many calories is it high protein. You don't gonna give a fuck to what is in that food at that point. You'll be so ravenously hungry that when you get to that other extreme, when you're actually super, super hungry and you let yourself get to that level, your protective brain is going to completely forget about your conscious and rational decisions. Your intention to be, to even focus on getting to your goal weight or your ideal body weight, that is not even in your mind at that point. Like, you don't care. You just need to completely block that feeling of extreme hunger because it's super uncomfortable. So you got to be a lot more strategic around how you go about listening to that restrictive mindset that is not really helping you to achieve a sustainable or better momentum. Because when you do follow a more structural routine with your nutrition and you don't restrict to that degree, you're able to have a lot more calmer and more rational decisions at the end of the day. Your training is better, your performance is better, you feel better throughout the day, and you are able to make more rational choices with your meals because you not get to that level of extreme. So I don't want you to continue repeating that pattern because it's not serving you. It's making you go backwards. So you would be 3 days, 4 days really, really well, and then 1 day or two can make you step backwards rather than helping you to continue to move in the right direction. Now, to the menopause and perimenopause part of it, it is very tricky. And I'd say this with the certainty that I've worked with so many women around that period. The fluctuation on the scale and the water fluctuations and with the hormones and how you feel, that is going to affect the number on the scale. Though that doesn't mean that it's necessarily affecting your body recomposition or like the progress you're making if you're doing everything that you're meant to be doing anyways. The scale will say whatever it says, but you're still doing the right things. You're still showing up to the gym. You're still making sure that you're eating your protein. You are not being restrictive and eating the amount of calories we have set up for you. You keep doing everything consistently day in and day out. The scale, whatever it says, let it be, because at the end of the day, it will show trends, and that's what we want to look at, trends over time. We don't want to pay attention to one single day weighing because it can mess up with your brain a lot. My weight 3 days ago was 2.5 kilos up, and today is back to 2 kilos. I'm talking about 5 pounds. It's a lot, and it's not fat. So we can't let the scale trick you for the rest of the day and just mess up with your brain. And that's where being super intentional, using the pause. Also, when you make a weigh-in, it is really important. It's not just with food, it's with everything. Because when you do see the scale going up, but you pause and you try to rationalize a little bit of what is going on, what could potentially have made the scale go up in the first place. So you start thinking, okay, I haven't pooped a lot in the past day, so that's likely contributing to that weight. If you ate a lot more carbohydrates or a salty food, that will affect as well. So everything will have a potential impact in the scale the next day. If you're eating a lot of extra fiber, that will increase the scale weight too. And imagine there is a combination of these factors. I did a actual video that talks about how an accumulation of different things can get you gaining even 12 pounds overnight. I'll share that video with you all in the group. But these things can add up. And then when you see the scale the next day, is what the fuck? What is wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. And then the only thing that we can do is perhaps blame the hormones or blame whatever it is. And sometimes it has nothing to do with that. And it can be a combination of things that are just happening physiologically and is not a reflection of you being broken or that there's something wrong with you around the fact that you are around perimenopause. Fluids are going to be a big thing, especially with hormones like estrogen and progesterone fluctuating a lot. So expect that your weight can fluctuate a lot more now than before. But if you're still able to maintain a focus on your consistency, on your nutrition, and everything that we have discussed, you will still make progress. So don't self-sabotage just thinking because I saw something on the scale that is telling me that I am not losing, and you probably could be losing, but you just can't see it at that point, then I just need to restrict more. I need to be hungry to know that I am burning fat, but you don't need to get to that extreme. So when you're in a calorie deficit, it's normal to be a little hungry, and that's okay, because obviously you're not at maintenance. But you shouldn't let your body be extremely hungry. And the level of hunger is going to be better controlled when you are able to increase the volume of your foods. So you're not eating like a little bird, small little meals, but you're actually eating big ass salads, big bowls of stir fries and protein and veggies, because that is going to fill you up. So hunger, physical hunger, can actually be decently managed well when you're not in a huge deficit. And that's something that also try to advocate for all of you. We don't need to make you eat 1,100 calories a day. You don't need to go super extreme and slash your calories so drastically. Just a mild, moderate deficit that is sustainable. That's what we need to do. We don't need to crash diet to achieve our goals. Because yes, it will make you get leaner faster, but it's going to feel so restrictive and so hard that you're going to burn out really fast. And then what happens? You stop. You just stop. And I know that for a lot of you here in this call today, that is some of your stories. You did so hard. You went really, really hard, all in. You focused on hitting your calorie deficit. You tracked everything, and you just burn out because it was too much. So I don't want you experiencing that, because it's not going to get you anywhere. The whole point and the mission for me here is to make you feel like you are in control, that you are feeling empowered, that you feel like you are not letting food control you anymore, and you can still get lean, get strong, and have that freedom that food noise is not all anymore around you. And once you have mastered all of that, the body composition comes with it, because we're mastering the mindset that at the end of the day is what leads us to do one thing or do the other, to make decisions. And sometimes we make good decisions, and sometimes we make very bad decisions. And sometimes these bad decisions are coming from reacting to an impulse, to a fear, reaction from trying to get us protected from something that we are not too sure about, or emotional, or because we are just not sure what to do at that moment in time. And so we react. And that reaction sometimes doesn't lead to positive outcomes. Hence why the pause and really assessing your moment in that situation, how you feel, why are you feeling that way, makes a big difference. Sometimes, is this making any sense? If I make this decision, is this really helping me? Or is this going to make me feel worse? Because Camila, you are aware that sometimes those things are not necessarily helping you. You know that that is a destructive behavior that tends to keep you in the vicious cycle. So it is important for you to decide today, I need to fucking break that pattern, because it may feel good at the moment that you feel in control and you feel like you're creating this deficit, and it's like you have to suffer to bring this badge of honor. Oh yes, I am starving. Now I'm in a deficit. Now I deserve like my medal. Where's my trophy? You don't get rewarded for suffering. So I don't need you to be starving for you to get the feeling like you're actually in a deficit, because you could still be in a deficit at the level of the calories that we have decided that are good for you, because your maintenance is likely a lot higher than 1,500 calories, especially if you're training 4 or 5 days a week, if you're doing your exercise, if you're doing your steps. A human being of our age and a physical activity, minimum you're requiring 1,500 calories, 12 to 1,500 calories. That's likely your base, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, just from existing and living. And so having likely 500 calories is where you're likely going to land for your maintenance calories. That is adding the extra activity you do, the extra things that your body tends to do on a day-to-day basis. And so I want you to not be restrictive anymore. Stay consistent, pause, follow a plan, and think very intentionally whether some behaviors will act on your favor or will actually make you go backwards. Make sense? Yep. Awesome. Any other that wants to come up and bring a bit of a good wins, or maybe a little bit of a struggle? Karen? Karine?
I'll go. Yesterday was a I was well, I teach a drumming class. So I taught my drumming class, and then I did a class after that for some core training with another instructor. And so I had two workouts in the morning, which was unusual for me, but it felt good. And I had my lunch and then went home and worked out in the yard for several hours. And so it was a busy day, a lot of steps, a lot of energy poured out. And by the time it got to be dinner time, what I had planned to eat, I did not want to eat. And so I sat there and I did pause because I thought what I really want is just a sandwich and some potato chips because I'm dead tired. I'm exhausted. My feet hurt. I don't want to eat anything healthy. I just want a sandwich. But what I did was I logged it in as if I ate that and I went, oh crap, that's just not really good at all. So I took it back out and I went and I made my salad and chopped up my chicken and ate that. And so, and it was fine. But I was tired but I was very busy. So this morning I got up and got on the scale and it had gone up half a pound. And I thought, crap. But what came to mind was, this week I've drank more protein drinks trying to get that. I keep trying to add protein and I'm not getting to that number, that's high enough. So I've been adding some protein drinks and I thought, I wonder if those protein drinks, and something in my head said maybe you should eat protein, not drink it. And so I didn't freak out about the scale and I thought that's something I'll just have to ask Astrid about. But then the win this morning was I didn't freak out and I went straight to the master class and it was great. And it was like, okay, recenter, keep making good decisions. But when I went from the scale to make my coffee to go to the meeting, now I live with a husband and a daughter who are tall and lean and they don't have a problem with food. And they're sat there donuts and their cupcakes. And I looked at them and I thought, what the hell? Why don't I just eat some donuts and then I'll start over after that? But I made my coffee and I went on the class instead. And just moving away from it, it was like it wasn't a thought again until I'm sitting in this going, oh yeah. I looked at those donuts and really wanted them for a minute and then I didn't. And it didn't feel like I was restricting myself by not eating them. But I did think, and in the class this morning, I thought, this whole pause thing is far more than just looking at the food on my plate and going, do I have enough of a balance? Do I have enough of the right stuff? It's about what are the emotions and what are the things that my mind is telling me. So Astrid, you and I can talk about those protein drinks, but something is going on that all week long it's just been a couple ounces going up no matter what I do to stay within the calories, to keep a balance with the protein and all that stuff. So I don't know if I'm trying to push something, but for me, that was a win that I saw the number. I had the thought, maybe this is because it happened a couple weeks ago too, where I was drinking them every day because I was out of town. And that scale went up when I got back into town. So I thought maybe there's a connection, but I didn't binge on anything. I didn't call myself names. I just went, there's got to be something here. And so it was kind of that thing that I've heard you guys talk about is it's data, it's information, it's telling me something. So what is it telling me? You know, and here I am tonight listening again. Thank you.
I'm proud of you, Karen. You're doing amazing. And I think it is really challenging, but very honorable, the fact that you were able to pause. And yeah, sometimes we just have an environment that doesn't really help us to stick to our goals. Either our environment can be contributive to our goals or sometimes can be very disruptive. And it could be like our family around us, they just don't care, or they just don't have the same goals as us, or they just don't have that consideration that we are going through some of these challenges, and then they just start eating in front of you things that have been a bit of a problem for you to manage at the end of the day. And that can be very disruptive sometimes, but being able to say, hey, I could eat the same foods as you if I wanted to, because you have all the permission, you have unconditional permission to eat whatever you want. But then you bring that pause and that awareness and say, I could eat at any time if I wanted to. Is it today? Is it the right time? Does this align with my goals right now? I don't know that it aligns, but I can eat it any other time. So is it the right time today? Maybe no. And so you don't feel restricted because it came from your decision that to you, a bigger priority was feeling good and getting more progress, and that your physical health matters a lot more than just a 2-minute pleasure that at the end of the day is just going to last that amount while you're eating it, while you're savoring it in your mouth, and then it's gone. Then the rest of the calories go to your body. So it doesn't make you a lot better or a lot worse when you decide to eat these things, but rather when you take ownership and you move with the decision of, I made myself a priority and my goals a priority over a short-term pleasure, which is what happens sometimes. Like, yes, donuts are amazingly tasty and delicious, but are they going to make me feel better after? So it's the same question I ask myself. How am I going to feel after if I eat this right now? Is it going to make me feel proud that I am getting closer to my goals? Or is it something that I could just have eaten at any other point in time? So I'm very proud of you. And with you, when you say that you're seeing small little increases in the scale, it doesn't surprise me, Karen, if you see sometimes some small increase in the scale, because you could consider yourself a newbie or beginner in training. And generally, when you start training and exercising, you're going to start gaining muscle a lot faster than someone that has been training for years. So what you could be seeing is a little bit confusing on the scale, on the numbers. But when we look at other measurements, or we look at your waist measurements or your photos or your visuals, they tell a different story versus what we see on the scale. So the scale is only a number that we can use in context with other measurements and other points of data that are going to give us a lot better context of what's going on. And this is for all of you. Don't just focus on the scale, focus on other points of reference. Context matters a lot. So for you, if you're making a lot of extra training sessions, you could potentially have or start experiencing that recomposition that happens. But also you've mentioned that there's been several weeks with a lot of stress, with lots of things going on. So that can also contribute to increases in water retention. And water retention, when there is a stress, can reflect very straightforward on what's on the scale. So focus on how am I feeling? How am I looking? And are there other signs of me making progress? Looking at how your clothes fits. Does it fit better? Do you feel like you look better on the mirror? What is other people telling you? Because sometimes we don't notice our own progress until someone else says, you look like you've just lost some weight, or like, girl, you look shredded, you look leaner. So it is more about making the right call and not just getting guided by one single data point. Does that make sense to you, Karen?
Yes, it does. And as a matter of fact, I met a friend yesterday who said, your whole face and neck, I can see some changes here. So I'll listen to that instead of look at the number.
Look at everything, okay? It's definitely, I am confident because I see you from when you started and now, and there are definitely signs of progress. But remember, we are healing something a lot more powerful, okay? I don't have you in a very strict deficit yet either. So I wouldn't expect like big drops anyways, because we're building onto the foundation, which is healing your relationship with yourself, healing your relationship with your body, increasing the awareness, increasing the knowledge. And so once we have this a stronger foundation, then we move to the next step. And then we can diet a little bit more strategically. But now is not the time. We're just getting you confident on everything that you're doing right now. And that's what matters right now to me. And to you would be the same. Like for every one of you, everyone is in a different path, in a different stage of your own journey. But the biggest thing for us is to build that foundation, awareness, knowledge. So when it comes to the time that you're ready to be on your own, that you graduate from our coaching, you don't need to ever start again. You don't need to go on a diet anymore or restrict yourself anymore. That is my goal with every single one of you, that you don't just achieve a physical goal of losing weight, but everything inside you is ready, is strong enough to get you moving in the right direction and never go back. That's what I want you. That's my biggest mission, is to really create that strong knowledge and awareness and self-sufficiency, self-efficacy in every single one of you. I have one more person that I am excited to listen, a win or a struggle or a bit of both. Who is ready to come forward in the hot seat? Carrie, let's go.
Only because you haven't heard from me in a while. I've been traveling too much, and perhaps that's maybe my win is over 4 weeks of travel and where I am today. All the things we've been doing, I took to the travel with me. And when we talked about snacking and pausing, I was really able to, maybe it's better sometimes for me to be away from home to practice something very different because I don't have the other distractions. So with my travel, there are certain times you can have breakfast and lunch and dinner. And therefore, if I was feeling snacky in the afternoon, I have my go-to. So I felt, as I shared with you in the check-ins, I felt very good that even if the scale was a bit up or down, it wasn't massively different like it had often been in the past. I maintained at least where I was from the day I left to the day I came back. Over 4 weeks, I have kept that thing. So that's a big win. We talked about the hunger cues, which to me kind of match up with the pausing. It's like you're making us practice it one level deeper almost. So, are you hungry or was this emotion? Well, the pause is now making us really stop and think about it. And I've had a lot of that. I've been so busy that I've literally like, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock and I haven't eaten. But I did stop. I'm like, Am I really hungry? Yeah, I'm hungry because I should have eaten 2 hours ago. But like yesterday, I found myself like just opening the cupboards, and I stopped myself and said, why are you doing this? Was I bored? Was I tired? And I realized I was really tired and I was really hungry. And I just made a decision that I was going to have dinner a little bit earlier. I went to the gym on my way home from something else. And I think, wrong day. See, all my days are blurring together. Yesterday, I went to the gym on the way home from somewhere, and I got back and I was thinking about cooking dinner without thinking about something we learned last week, which was sometimes you have to replenish a little bit after all of that excitement of being in the gym. Not a lot, but enough. So I did actually have a little bit of a protein. No, I had a protein waffle with some peanut butter, a small one, as my snack. That's my favorite snack, is a protein waffle with a little bit of peanut butter and a little bit of marmalade. It's like a dessert thing, and it's maybe 130 calories or something. So I didn't think that was too bad after the gym, and it didn't spoil my dinner either. So that's been a lot of it, is how it's all come together over the last few weeks, because I have not been in a normal routine. And if I have a struggle, it's like, okay, I'm back home now. Now I have to figure this all out at home.
I'm proud of you. And I think it is really, really exciting to see in every one of you how things are coming together and how we just have started building up from each week, and how everything actually overlaps and you start actually using every single one of these skills together. So first one is increased awareness and self-awareness, which Carrie, you have come really far from when we started, and how you are incredibly more aware and more intentional with your choices. And then how important it is to eat regularly and create that structure that you can follow and get your body used to, and adapt, and even adapt to your different scenarios and different routines. How can you maintain a structure when you travel will look very different as to what is the structure when you're at home. But you still have a structure and you still have a plan B. Regardless whether you are traveling, you can have 3 different structures: when you're traveling, when you're at home, and when you're on the holiday or weekends. Because weekends have their own identity as well. So we can have 3 different structures, but you still have predictability. You still know what is ahead. And so you can have a much better strategy around how am I going to go about each one of these situations. So that is the most important thing that I want you to think about, is that you don't need to feel like, if I think a structure, it has to be rigid and only this, and I can get outside this box. You can still have a flexibility and structure, and it can vary depending on the scenario. And you just need to identify what are your rough different scenarios that tend to go on repeat. You travel, that is one. You're home, that is one. Weekends, that is another container. And maybe we could add any other if you have a different scenario that tends to repeat to you. So that is something that you always need to plan ahead and identify, and try to create a repeatable structure and plans, and how you go about mastering those different scenarios with the challenges it presents. But I am really proud of you for doing all of that. And the pause that we're adding now is so valuable, because it's just making you take one extra step between the decision of eating or reacting and you making the final decision. And then it's sort of like takes you to a decision tree. Okay, where am I now? What is the next best step? Am I hungry? Am I feeling something else? Am I bored? Am I feeling just out of a structure? Am I tired? And what is the right solution to resolve that specific trigger or that specific problem? Because if you're tired, is it eating going to make you feel better? Is it going to actually feel better? No, you just need to fucking go asleep. And so that is the main thing that I want you to be a lot more intentional about, which we are building that skill, and we just need to put it on repeat. So this is something that is not just for this week, but for the rest of the weeks remaining and after. Thank you for all of you coming and for participating. Is there any final questions or anything that you want to ask before I wrap up? No questions? All right. So next week, we're going to go for the next session. And I am going to make some alterations because I have to travel on Friday, which is your Thursday. So I'm going to do like I did 2 weeks ago. I'm going to move it one day ahead. So our sessioners are going to be on Wednesdays rather than Thursdays. So hopefully you can make it. I'm going to put that in the chat as well, so you can be prepared to come. Instead of the Thursday, it's going to be Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And the session 1 is going to be in the morning as well on the Wednesday. But that one could be the same potentially, but just the session 2 is going to be moved one day forward, just for next week. Hope you have a beautiful weekend. Be good. Send me messages. Ask any questions in the chat. Continue to share your wins. Continue to show up for yourself. Continue to rely and share your experiences and your takeaways with the group. I am here for you all, and I want you to succeed. And the best thing that will make you get there is that you proactively continue working on your mindset and continue letting you be coachable, so I can help you and we can get to your final destination. So have a beautiful weekend. I love you all. God bless you. And I see you next week, and I see you in the chat. Bye.